Hi, good morning. Today we are going to discuss about the different elements and principles applied in comic art. This is teacher Chag Garcia and I'm your teacher in MAPE. Before we start, before we discuss about the different elements and principles of comic art, let us first take a look about the difference between cartoon, comic, comic strips, cartoon character, and the different kinds of comic book. So personally, I love reading books, and aside from reading fiction and nonfiction books, I also read comic books. Since when I was in high school and college. So, meron ako ditong isang favorite na libro. Matagal na libro ko na to. So, this is one of my favorite comic book, Archie. So, Archie is a kind of comic book. So, ganito ang itsura ng isang comic book. So, ayan. Also, one of my favorite comic cartoon is Peanuts, si Charlie Brown at saka si Snoopy. Kilala niyo ba sila? So, let's go to what is a cartoon? Cartoon is a single panel image usually to convey an idea. So, kapag may nakita kayong isang katulad nitong isang panel, single panel na yan, ang tawag dyan ay cartoon. Anong pinagkaiba niyan sa comic? Pag sinabing comic, it is a story told using sequential panel. Sunod-sunod na panel. So, magkakasamang panel, magkakasamang single panel, magkakabuo ka ng sequential, ibig sabihin sunod-sunod. Ang tawag na doon ay comic. Ano naman ang ibig sabihin ng comic strip? Pag sinabing comic strip naman, it is a sequence of drawing in boxes that tells an amusing story. So, it is typically printed in a newspaper or comic book. Also, meron na ding mga nasa web pages. So, this is an example of a comic strip. So, kung pagsasama-samahin yung iba't ibang panels, makakabuo ng sequential panels. Tapos, pagsasama-samahin yung mga panels na yon, makakabuo ka ng isang comic strip, isang buong kwento. So, cartoon character. Ang cartoon character, it is a fictional character depicted in an animal film or a comic strip. So, dun sa mga pinakita kong examples ng cartoon, comic, and comic strip, kung mapapansin nyo, ang character doon ay itong batang lalaki at yung kanyang aso. So, this is Charlie Brown and Snoopy. So what are the different kinds of comic books? So dalawa yan. Meron tayong tinatawag na comic book. This is a comic book. It is a collection of comic strips, usually in chronological sequence, typically telling a single story or a series of different stories. So ayan yung nakikita niyo sa example, that is a kind of a comic book. Yung isa pang comic book ay tinatawag nating digital comics. Para rin siyang comic book pero digitalized. So, nada-download, nakikita sa mga web pages, ganyan. So, ang tawag doon ay digital comics. 'Di ba? Meron na rin tayong books, tsaka e-books. Parang printed manual and digital manual. Or printed module and digital modules. Parang ganun din. So, let us now go to the different elements of a comic strip. First is the panel. Yung spaces na nakikita dito, ang tawag dyan ay panel. So, ang isang panel, spaces, so ito yon, pwedeng square or rectangle, minsan triangular, depende sa author depende sa nag-drawing at sa author. So, ito, ang example ko dito ay squares and rectangle. So, itong isang panel na to, meron niyang, nagko-contain niya ng isang scene. So, another scene for the next panel, another scene, and etc. Next is captions. So, captions, iba yan doon sa tinatawag nating script. So, pag sinabing caption, it sets the stage for readers and gives information about the character or scene. So, dito sa example ko, itong naka-yellow mark, ayan ang tinatawag na caption. Next, gutters. Pag sinabing gutters, these are the spaces between panels that contain little gaps in time. So, kapag nakakita kayo ng medyo malaking space, unlike sa usual, so parang pag nagbabasa tayo, ayan yung next paragraph or pwedeng period, parang ganon. So, the readers can imagine that it may have occurred pauses. Next, speech bubbles or balloons. It shows the readers what the characters are saying aloud. So kapag nakakita kayo ng ganitong image, ibig sabihin, these are the words that the characters are saying. Ito yung sinasabi nila sa kausap nila or sa script, parang ganon. Next, ano naman yung tinatawag na thought bubbles? Pag thought bubbles naman or balloons, ito naman yung naiisip niya lang. Hindi niya sinasabi aloud. Nasa isip niya lang. So just like this character Garfield, nasa isip niya lang, sinasabi niya, I don't need to set an alarm. Ayan. So this is an example of a thought balloon. Next element of a comic strip is the sound effect. Sound effect, these are words that phonetically imitates or resembles or suggests the sound that it describes. So kapag nakakita kayo ng ganito, pwedeng extreme, di ba? Ang ibig sabihin yan. So these are just examples of sound effects. Pwede rin namang shh, yung SSHH, di ba? It is also a sound effect. Alright, so let us now go to the basic steps in designing a character. Because later on in your in Let's Create and Let's Evaluate, I think, no, in your Let's Create, you're going to make or design your own character. So let us know the different basic steps in designing a character. The first step is to research. Isipin niyong mabuti, ano ba yung gusto ninyong character? Gusto niyo ba yung masayaing character? Gusto niyo ba yung strong personality yung character ninyo? O makakakuha kayo ng iba't ibang mga ideas if you're going to browse some comics. Kung magsa-search kayo ng iba't ibang comic characters, pwede kayo makakuha ng mga inspiration. Next, sketching. So this is just an example of a sketch design. So ang sketch ay hindi pa yan yung final drawing. Ayan pa lang yung naiisip nyo. It is called a rough version of your design. Parang hindi pa yun yung final, pero yun na yung naiisip ninyong gawin. It does not contain the final look of your design yet or your character yet. Next is the construction. So ito na yung iisipin nyo, ano kaya yung magiging itsura ng character ko kapag masaya siya? So ano kaya yung magiging itsura ng character ko kapag malungkot siya? So construction is the very basis of your character. It will ensure that the proportions and shape are balanced. Pag mas malaki ba ang ulo ni character, ano kaya ang kino-convey niya? Kapag nagmo-move ba siya, ano kaya ang kapag yung character ba na dinrawing nyo ay nagmo-move, ano kaya ang kino-convey na meaning nun? Something like that. So next is the final is the tracing. So after you have researched, constructed, and think of your character, ito na yung gagawa na kayo ng final look ng inyong drawing. So dito na nyo ilalagay yung mga features niya, kung may mole ba, may nunal, kung ganito ba ang size ng kanyang mga mata, kung ano ba yung proportion ng mata sa ilong sa bibig. So, ayan na yan. So, tracing is the final step in drawing your character in a comic. So, that's basically it. Thank you for listening and find time in doing your Let's Create and Let's Evaluate tasks. Thank you. Goodbye.